Good morning, students. Today we'll discuss deep sea adaptations. To live in the deep sea conditions, the individual must be furious. Strong eyesight is there. Gigantism is shown by the organisms. So, these organisms, they always bear barometric pressure. These animals have evolved to survive in the extreme pressure of the subphotic zones. The pressure increases by about 1 bar every 10 meters. Also, scientists have discovered that deeper these creatures live, the more gelatinous their flesh and more minimal their skeletal structure is there. These creatures have also eliminated all excess cavities that would collapse under the pressure, such as the swim bladders. So, the deep sea adaptation is characterized by high pressure, low temperature, absence of light, calmness of water, absence of phytoplanktons and other producers, scarcity of food, and resulting competition, and soft bottom. Lack of light is the most important condition. The lack of light requires creatures to have special adaptations to find food, avoid predators, and find their mates. Most animals have very large eyes with the retinas constructed only of cones, which increases the sensitivity. Many animals have also developed large feelers to replace peripheral vision. To be able to reproduce, many of these fishes have evolved the hermaphroditic condition, eliminating the need to find the mate. Many creatures have also developed very strong senses of smell to detect the chemicals released by the mate. At this depth, there is not enough light for photosynthesis to occur and not enough oxygen to support a fish living at higher levels. To survive, these creatures have much slower metabolism and therefore can survive using little oxygen. They can also go months without food. Most food comes from either organic material that falls from above or from eating other creatures that have derived their food through the process of chemosynthesis. Because of the sparse distribution of creature, there is always at least some oxygen and food. Also, instead of using energy to search for food, these creatures use particular adaptation to ambush prey. Hypoxic environment. The creatures that live in subabyssal requires adaptation to cope with the naturally low oxygen levels. So, deep sea gigantism is a very important feature. These creatures are generally many times bigger than the other smaller counterparts. The giant isopods related to the common pill bug, scientists have not been able to explain the deep sea gigantism with the exception of giant tube worm. The scientists believe that the creatures are much larger than the shallower water tube worm because they live on hydrothermal vents that expels large huge amount of resources. They believe that since the creatures do not have to expend energy regulating their body temperature and have a smaller need for activity, they can allocate more resources to the bodily processes. There are also cases of deep sea creatures being abnormally small, such as the lantern shark, which fits in the adult human palm. In this case, you can see the feelers in the fish and the fins. They are highly elongated so that the fish can rest on the soft bottom. The viperfish is one of the most ferocious predators of the deep The average less than 12 inches but can grow up to the 2 feet. They live in water at the depth of 5,000 to 8,250 feet. The viper fish produces light in its mouth to attract the prey. It has over 350 tiny light organs in its mouth. The viper fish lives in water that is very cold. Bioluminescence is another important phenomenon shown by the deep sea individuals. It is the ability for organisms to create light through chemical reaction. The creatures use bioluminescence in many ways: to light their way, to attract the prey, to seduce a mate. Many underwater animals are bioluminescent, from the viper fish to the flashlight fish, which is named for its light. Some creatures, such as anglerfish, have a concentration of photophores in a small limb that protrudes from their body, which they use as to lure the catch. The fish. The bioluminescence can also confuse the enemies. The chemical process of bioluminescence requires at least two chemicals: the light-producing chemicals called luciferin and the reaction-causing chemical called luciferase. The luciferase catalyzes the oxidation of the luciferin, causing light and resulting in inactive oxyluciferin. Fresh luciferin must be brought in through the diet or through the internal synthesis. So bioluminescence has 6 different functions. Number 1, headlights such as forward-facing light organs of the lanternfish. Second, social sites such as unique light pattern for attracting mate. Third, lures to attract curing prey such as dangling fishing lures of anglerfish. Then fourth, counter illumination, in which rows of photophores on the bellies of many megapelagic fish produce blue light exactly matching the faint sunlight from above. Next, confusing predators or prey such as bright fish flashes that comes squid makes to stun their prey, and to decoy that divert attention, such as the glowing green globe ejected by green bomber worms. Then is the burglar arm, in which the animal being attacked illuminates its attacker so that an even bigger predator will see the burglar and so after it. Some swimming sea cucumbers even coat their attackers with sticky glowing mucus so the police predators can find them many minutes later. Next, another important phenomena in deep sea is chemosynthesis. Since at such deep level there is little or no sunlight, photosynthesis is impossible as a means of energy production, leaving some creatures with the quandary of how to produce food for themselves. For the giant tube worms, the answer comes in the form of the bacteria. These bacteria are capable of chemosynthesis. These bacteria, they live inside the giant tube worm, which lives on the hydrothermal vents. These vents spew very high amount of chemicals that these bacteria can transform into energy. These bacteria can also grow free of the host and create mats of bacteria on the sea floor around the hydrothermal vents, where they sense as food to the other creature. Bacteria are a key energy sources in the food chain. The source of energy creates large population in area around hydrothermal vents that produces scientists an easy stop for the research. So on the near the hydrothermal vents, we'll find numerous individuals like microbes, the octopus, the tube worms, the dandelions, then is the zooarcid fish, then shrimps, crabs, as well as the mussels. So organisms that live in deep sea have to adapt to various conditions they find there. The shape and structure of body of deep sea creature is adapted to those conditions. Scarce food affect the body structure. Because of the food scarcity, deep sea fish tends to conserve as much as energy possible. The energy they have must be allocated between the growth, maintenance, and reproduction. The deep sea fish have lowered their energy use by having weak muscles, bones that are less dense, lower metabolic rate, slower breathing rate, very reduced swim bladders. Energy derived from food is stored because meals are irregular, keeping the metabolic rate low and keeping muscles and bones less dense keeps more energy available for survival, growth, and reproduction. The swim bladder is also often reduced because of high pressure and to decrease the energy investment. The eyes are often very smaller or have smaller growth. Again, this will decrease the energy investment. And also the eye on the prey often have predators recognize the prey. Smaller eyes may help escape predator detection. In the total darkness, smaller eyes should still be able to detect bioluminescence due to higher contrast and detection of light in the blue-green spectra. So deep sea fish needs to take full advantage of any potential prey that might encounter. So they tends to have large mouth, jaws, teeth, and highly extendable stomach so that they can handle large prey and carcasses. Many predator deep sea fishes show highly specialized modification of their feeding apparatus, that is elongated jaws studded with long dagger-like teeth, often combined with very distendable stomach. These striking structures can be observed in members of the marine teleost family, Stomidae. So adaptations in the lateral system is there. The lateral system in the fish is used to detect the movement around them. It consists of neuromast, mechanosensory cells with cilia that can detect water displacement and therefore movement. Because the upper ocean has current, the detection system is located in closed or open pits. In the deep sea, the fish do not need to worry about strong current. Therefore, their lateral system is located on the surface or even on the stalks. For example, in Pharyngital Wedley, the deep sea creature, it is an angular fish. It has no canal organ. They are replaced by many neuromasts placed on the prominent papillae in rows that cover much of the head and the body. Reproduction in the anglerfish is very strange. So in this case, the deep sea anglerfish may use the light pattern as well as scents to find the mate, but they have also have another interesting reproductive adaptation. Males are tiny in compared to the female and they attract themselves to the mate using hooked teeth, enabling a parasite-like relationship for life. The blood vessels of the male merge with the female so that he receives nourishment from her. In exchange, the female is provided with a very reliable sperm source, avoiding the problem of having to locate new mate every breeding cycle. It is an illness that can affect driver. It is Kyson disease or decompression sickness. So this situation is there when the deep sea diving is there. So decompression sickness is commonly known as bends and it occurs by building up of nitrogen bubbles inside the body. As we descend in water, the pressure around our bodies increases, causing nitrogen to be absorbed into our body tissues. This is not actually harmful, but it is quite possible for the body to continue to absorb nitrogen until it reaches a point called saturation. That is the point at which the pressure of the tissue equals to the surrounding pressure. So within the head and skull bones are air spaces, sinuses, within the bone itself and air pockets in the ear canal. As one descends in water, water pressure squeezes the air in these spaces, causing the feeling of pressure and pain in the head and ear. Sinus congestion caused by cold, flu, or allergy will impair the ability to equalize the pressure and may result in the damage of the eardrum. As water temperature below body temperature draws heat from the body, it is important to have proper thermal protection to avoid the hypothermia. Shivering is the body's response to lower body temperature and one of the beginning symptoms of hypothermia. So these are some of the biological barriers for the diving. That is, when the individual it dives, first is the diving to about 7 meters where oxygen toxicity barrier is there. Then the diver can dive with the help of the without wearing any special swimsuits. But below that 7 meters, the scuba diving is there where you need oxygen cylinders as well as special clothing. And below that, what happens? We need to carry some equipment which continues provide oxygen to the cylinder. And then we need the vehicle in which the individual is carried deep down into the sea. So various levels are there. As we go deeper and deeper, the reliability on oxygen it is increasing, plus the you can say the clothing which we use, plus the head, the helmet, the hard hat which the divers they wear, and the you can say the equipment which they carry along with them, that is more important. So see how the divers they are using these clothes and the head guards. Now what happens when the deep sea diving is there? Firstly, the joints they are damaged and the destruction in the cartilage is there. It becomes painful and red. Then the skin it becomes red, and we have got different types of decompression sickness. So decompression sickness can be divided into various types. That is type 1 decompression sickness. In the type 1 decompression sickness, first of all, the cutaneous decompression sickness is there, where the nitrogen bubbles comes out of the solution in the skin capillaries and normally result in the red rashes, often on the shoulders and the chest. Second is the joint and limb pain decompression sickness. In this case, the tendons, the joints, the bones, right, they are damaged and pain is there. Type 2 decompression sickness, here we'll see the 3 levels. Number 1 is the neurological decompression sickness. When the nitrogen bubbles affect the nervous system, they can cause problems throughout the body. This type of decompression sickness normally shows a tingling, numbness, respiratory problems, and unconsciousness. Then second is the pulmonary decompression sickness. It is a rare form of decompression sickness. That compression occurs when the bubbles forms are there in the lung capillaries and the lung oedema is there, and the exchange of gases it is affected by the lungs. Then is the cerebral decompression sickness. It is possible for the bubbles to make their way to the arterial bloodstream to move to the brain and cause arterial gas embolism. This is extremely dangerous, and the symptoms like blurred vision, headache, confusion, and unconsciousness they are there in the decompression sickness. So when we look at the symptoms of decompression sickness, we can see the decompression sickness it shows extreme fatigue, joint limb pain, tingling, numbness, red rash on the skin, respiratory problems, heart problems, dizziness, blurred vision, headaches, confusion, unconsciousness, ringing of ears, vertigo, as well as the stomach sickness. This is regarding the deep sea adaptations. I hope the concept is clear. Thank you.